So in this final video on data wrangling operations and the important actions you can do, I will go over some text manipulation opportunities you have in Power BI and also some ways you can manipulate time and date. So again, we start up Power BI and I will work with the timeline data set that I've been working with in the previous videos. So we still have this data file saved here. So we can open it and the timeline data should be here. So let's go to the query editor. So now there's a few things I would like to show. Let's maybe start with one of the things that I noticed in this data set, that is the fact that the isRetweet column seems to only contain false values. So something went wrong here because if you know a little bit about Twitter, a tweet starting with RT indicates that it's a retweet. So this should, so isRetweet, this should be true. So how can we solve this? So there's a few or a couple ways, but probably the most or the easiest way would be to create a new column. And probably based on some condition. So let's retweet new. So if the tweet text, and then we could choose, this is nice, so like if tweet text begins with some value, so RT, then it's a retweet, else, well, false, true. So this should basically, again, deal with some part of the text. So in a way, this is a little bit of text manipulation. And if we press OK, we should have, let's have a look here. So these two are retweets, and we have two truths here. So that's an easy way to create an additional column based on something that's contained in the text. So I did nothing new here in a sense, because we already know how to create new columns, but now you can just look, or we just looked what was happening inside the text. Then there's some quite important functions that you would want to do if you're working with text to a certain extent. And that has to do with the format of your text. So here, or if you press the right button here, you will see the same options here. So especially the lowercase or uppercase options might be really important if, for instance, you want to merge two tables and the unique column you wish to merge them on is based on a text variable. Because if there's hidden spaces, no, that's for later. So because if there's, for instance, you want to match two data sets based on the name of a politician, so on the column name politician, and in the one data set, the name of the politician starts with a capital, and so an uppercase letter, and in the other data sets it starts with a lowercase letter, but it is the same name. If you then try to merge these data sets, they will not recognize it as the same values. And the same is true if you have hidden spaces, so hidden white spaces. So for instance, if there could be a few spaces trailing after this here, and you wouldn't see it, but it would not correctly merge your table. So this is really important. So it's always a good idea if you have this kind of text you want to manipulate to choose to either put it in lowercase. So now you get a column that's completely where everything is in lowercase compared to this one. Alternatively, you could put it in uppercase. So it doesn't really matter what you do or what you choose, but be sure to choose consequently if you want to merge different tables, for instance. So capitalize each word. It will just give a capital letter. Well, let's just do it. So you see that every first letter of a word will be in uppercase. So if you would need that for some reason. Trim is a very important one. So you will create a new column that contains the values in the selected column, but with the white spaces. So in front and at the end, these white spaces removed. So now you won't see a difference because these white spaces are invisible, but at least now you're sure they're not there anymore. So of course you could add a prefix or a suffix. Let's add a prefix. So it just adds in all the rows the text you defined as a prefix. Some other interesting opportunities are not only with the format, but also with the extract option. So for text, so if you wanted to know for some reason how many characters are in a text, so if you wanted to do, for instance, a study on the length of tweets, you could use the extract length function where you get now the count of the number of characters that have been used in a tweet. So first character will extract first letter or character, last character range. You could define yourself. So for instance, another option, well, a bit of an extended workaround to detect whether something is a retweet. You could say, okay, let's extract everything. So the first two characters, so the number of characters is 2, and we start at position 0, or maybe 1, I don't know what Power BI will be using. Yes, okay. And now you know, so if this column has RT in it, it would be a retweet. So again, you could work with a conditional column here. So if text range equals RT, then true, else false. So if we didn't have the begin with, so begins with option, this would have been an equally valid way to do things. So this should be the same as the is retweet new column. And we could actually check that. So probably, I don't know if this works in Power BI, but we could probably, I don't know. So equals custom column. No, Apparently you can't do that. Can we? Yes, we can. So this should be true everywhere. And this seems to be the case. Well, to really check it, we could, for instance, do it in the graphics editor to see what values are, or we could do a group by on this column. And we only have true values, so for the whole data set. So this seems to be correct. Okay, what else can we do with text data? Where were we? Okay, here. So text before delimiter, so if you would define a comma or whatever as a delimiter, it will only extract the text before that, after that, or between delimiters. So that's quite straightforward. We've already seen how to split a column if it's textual. Another thing might be to, if you want to combine two columns, so two text columns. So for instance, if you want to have a new column that has the tweet text in addition to, so the tweet text in addition, and add this with this text, so you want this instead of being in two columns to be to have this in one column. You have the option here to merge columns. So if you just select with Control the two columns, so you press Control, keep it pressed down, and select the other column, merge. So merge calls, and then you can choose how the text will be separated. So for instance, let's say we want the two texts to be separated by a tab value. And here is a column. So I deleted apparently the other two columns, and it created one column with the tweet text and whether it's a reply and to whom. So I don't know actually if we can combine a text column with a numeric column or with a date even. So let's see if this works. Yeah, cool, this works too. So now we have the text and the tweet date of that tweet text in one column. I don't know if we can go crazy and merge 3 columns in one column. Let's give it a shot. Yes, this also works. So you could probably select all your data and merge this into one comma separated value file, which we might unpack if we split it by a delimiter on each occurrence and a comma I think we used. So there we are. So the reason why it didn't split very well is because there will be probably commas in the tweets themselves, which makes for a strange splitting behavior. So, but this is just a bit playing around with what is possible. So we don't need these anymore. Okay, what can I show something more? We could play around with the date. the date and the time. So there's a few things we can do. So for instance, this is the tweet date, and imagine that I wanted to know how long this was ago, how many days from today this tweet was sent. So to do that, we would need a new column. We would need a new column. Or we would need to create a new column that has the date of today. So how can we do that? We can probably create a new column like this. And then there's probably some kind of code. And let's just look that up. Power BI. Yeah, date of today, add column. So, and this is probably something we can do. So let's see if this works. So date, time. What was it called? Local. Date, time. Local now. I see it here like this. Today. So this gives us the date of today, including the hour. Now we want to know how many days this was ago that these tweets were sent. So there's at least two ways to do this. We could create a new column and try to just do an operation on it. So today minus the tweet date and see what happens. And this gives you the number of days and then also the hours, the minutes, and the seconds, and so on. How long this was ago. So that's a duration. So how long something is ago. And here in the duration option, you could say, okay, this is far too detailed. I want to know the number of days, how many days this was ago. Or you could say how many years this was ago. So these are the operations you can do with a duration. Now there's still another way or an easier way to get the difference between two dates. So if you select this column and you select this column in that order, because if you select this one first, you will get a negative sign because it will take this one and subtract it from this one. And if you then there should be an option here, if I'm not mistaken. Where is it? Okay, it's just under the date option. So if you click on age, it will, as you can read now, it will return the duration between the current local time and the values in the selected columns. It's even easier than I expected. So what it actually will do, you You don't even need to calculate the date of today, but you could just select this day, this date, and then click age, and it gives you, well, it replaces the column, but it actually gives you, and this is nice, so the duration. So the easiest way is not to calculate the date of today, but you can just use the age function if you wanted to know how long ago something was created from today on. Of course, you can also extract, so for the tweet date, you can also extract the same things, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to extract these kinds of things. But you could also say, okay, I don't need the hour, so I can extract only the date. Or I want only the hour. You extract at what time the tweet was sent. So if, for instance, you wanted to know the distribution of when people send tweets, is it in the morning, in the evening, during the night? So that would also be an option to extract. You can do it by the minutes and seconds. You can just keep the date, so up to minutes and seconds. And the same is true for time. So if you wanted to know in what year these tweets were sent, we could extract here. So these were sent in 2014, these in 2020, and so on. So, and I guess that's about it. Yeah, you can do whatever you like actually with these dates in these options here. So I think that's about it for the this video. There's maybe one thing I still want to show. What we've seen here somewhere. Let's compute that again. So the age, and now it rounds. It's rounding. So if you have, and well, I'll show it with this data set. So the exam scores data set, that's something I still wanted to show you. And it makes a lot more sense to do it here. So if you wanted to, these are quite big or a lot of numbers after the comma. So of course, actually, when we give a grade, we can't give that many, or that we can't use the numbers after the comma. So we would have to round them. So in Power BI, this is quite easy. So you just have a rounding option here. So you could round up. So this will make your scores better on the digital methods exam. If we were in a bad mood, we could round down. Of course, this is not true. There's strict rules about rounding when grading your guys' exams. And also, you could define the number of decimal spaces, decimal places you want to keep. So if you want to keep 2 places after the comma, you could do it like this.